我自己宣布辞职啊，在全省大会上，给省长打了几次报告，我要辞职，人家不同意嘛，不同意辞职嘛，说你挂名义厂长你也得给我挂上。后来我就把厂里班子跟省长要求把班子重新调整了，弄了一批年轻人起来，然后我开了个全省大会，自己宣布辞职。
发生什么事情？
没有啥，就是到期了嘛。我4年一期，我任了5年了嘛。我不想当，我是个导演嘛，我又不是当官的。4、5年我拍了1部片子，对不对？一天就为他人做嫁衣裳了，那我自己事业我就谈不上了，所以我不想当这个厂长。那个当官烦得很嘛，那个很难当啊，那个官。你想干事，他有人不让你干。
Despite Wu Tianming always want to make more films during his lifetime, but there were always something holding him back. Maybe it is the historical context, or his own fate that he cannot extricate from. In his whole life, he only made 7 films. Even if he wanted to resign his job as the chief of the Xi'an Film Studio, he had made great contribution to the Xi'an Film Studio and Chinese films in the 1980s.
如果没有他，就没有当时中国电影的复兴。过去啊，都说这个中国电影的复兴是从新厂起的，其实是从他那儿起的。要没有他的这个一手这个推助啊，他的一手扶持，中国电影的复兴不可能存在的。
Wu Tianming was acknowledged as the godfather of the 5th generation of Chinese filmmakers. When international attentions came upon Chinese films in the 1980s, Xi'an Film Studio encouraged the 5th generation filmmakers to make films that were acclaimed by the Chinese cinema goers and the Western art house cinema audiences. Under Wu Tianming's stewardship, Zhang Yimou's Red Sorghum, Chen Kaige's King of the Children, Tian Zhuangzhuang's Horse Thief, and Huang Jianxin's The Black Cannon Incident were consequently produced. By the time, Xi'an Film Studio was a state-run facility in the capital of Shanxi Province, and Wu Tianming was the head of the film studio from 1983 to 1989. In the early 1960s, Wu was enrolled at the Xi'an Film Studio filmmaking training program. The Cultural Revolution, which brought severe setback and heaviest losses to China, was ended in the 1970s. In the 1974, Wu Tianming studied filmmaking in Beijing Film Academy. He then returned to Xi'an Film Studio after graduation. Due to the shortage of the budget, it was competitive and risky for young filmmakers to direct films on their own. So he was required by the studio to co-direct the film with other filmmakers. In 1979, he co-directed the film Blood Ties. The Blood Ties was heavily criticized at that time for its unrealistic storytelling. He learned from it, and his understanding of film aesthetics possibly influenced many of his decisions later on when he was in charge of the Xi'an Film Studio. In 1982, after working in Xi'an Film Studio for more than 20 years, he finally got his first chance to make the film River Without Voice. 1 year later, Wu Tianming was assigned to be the chief of the Xi'an Film Studio. This is also the year when the 5th generation filmmakers graduated from Beijing Film Academy. He was the youngest leader of the film studio back then. Maybe because of the difficulties he had been through, he deeply understood how hard for a young filmmaker to have a chance to make the first film under such circumstances. In the 1980s, China began the transition to market socialism, built up the economy through industrial expansion and exports. Xi'an Film Studio was state-owned enterprise, so the director of the studio was fully responsible for everything of the enterprise.
西影厂当时很困难，没有资金，因为随着转型以后，过去不是都计划经济吗？计划拍片嘛，你比如中央给西影厂一年分只有8部指标，那么有这8部指标，拿着这指标可以到银行去贷款的。你后来就没有了，你再加上吴天民他这个要自负盈亏， 我就知道一件事情，很痛苦。
他没干过领导，这么大管1000多人，当时1500多人这个厂，吃喝拉撒、工作、医疗、教育、卫生、住房，多少事情，哗一下都拥到他们身上来了。那现在让我当厂长、当领导，一个电影厂长，主要是什么呀？我说主要是要有影片，要生产出好的影片，这个厂才能立住。
It is hard to imagine how difficult it was when there were 1,800 employees working in the Xi'an Film Studio. Before Wu Tianming was assigned to the Xi'an Film Studio, among state-owned studios, Xi'an Film Studio had the lowest copy selling record. However, in 1983, the number of the films produced by Xi'an Film Studio rise up to be the highest, and these films won over 100 international and national prizes. Wu Tianming's determination and reform measures largely changed the status of the Xi'an Film Studio in the 1980s. Between 1950s and 1980s, Chinese films were functioned as moral and political education product, especially during the Cultural Revolution. Many filmmakers did not even have chance to make films. After the 1980s, this circumstance started to change. The importance of the entertaining and artistic value were attached to the films by the film studios. Wu Tianming was a determined leader. He supported the filmmakers to explore the art house filmmaking, and he also encouraged the filmmakers who pursue the entertaining and economic values of the films. He made staff incentive regulations to financially encourage the filmmaker of the highest grossing films and award-winning films. Under the planned economic system, the director of the studio was the only person who had the right to decide which filmmaker can make films. Wu Tianming was a filmmaker himself, so he was very careful in this decision-making. He supported young filmmakers who have talents and capabilities of filmmaking and gave these filmmakers freedom of creativity. When the fifth-generation filmmakers graduated from Beijing Film Academy, he encouraged them to independently direct their first films. By the planned economy period, the average age of the department leaders in the studio was 50. He retired the old leaders and promoted the young people to enhance the efficiency of the management of the studio. Wu Tianming was aware of the importance of the film cultural exchange at the film festivals and the networking with the film scholars. Between 1987 to 1988, he organized the Chinese filmmakers team and brought their films to visit overseas international film festivals and film institutions. The Xi'an studio had their own magazine as a platform for discussion between scholars, critiques, and screenplay writers. Wu Tianming changed the magazine's name into Northwest Film to promote the West films which were produced by Xi'an Film Studio. Sooner, it was embraced by the audiences and the readers. He also encouraged the staff to attend skill trainings, and he organized English learning class within the studio. Because during the Cultural Revolution, many staff did not have chance to study professional skills. In only 6 years, Wu branded the image of the Xi'an Film Studio and paved the way for the fifth-generation filmmakers to step into global stages. However, when everything went well, he decided to quit his job because what he really wanted was to be a filmmaker rather than a producer. Sadly, during the 1989 Tiananmen Square protest, he was in the US and not able to come back to China. We did not know what really happened, but he became restless as a video store owner until he came back to China in the 90s. Afterwards, he made a few films, but the market economy had changed the Chinese film industry, As a filmmaker, he missed too many precious opportunities. But as a producer, he shaped the Chinese cinema in the 1980s and pushed the boundary of what was permissible to represent in films after the Cultural Revolution.